Hello, and thank you for viewing our workshop video on officer transitions entitled Know Your Role. The objectives for this workshop that we hope you take away are to understand the importance of officer transitions, to take away tips and materials for a successful transition, to review relevant policies and systems for student organizations, learn best practices for individual and group goal setting, and participate in an officer self-reflection and meaning making. To start, we want to discuss why officer transitions are so important. I'm sure there are many points that you can identify yourself that are benefits to successful officer transitions. Successful transitions continue the sustainability of the group by promoting the growth of the organization and their continued recognition on campus. If officers are not successfully transitioned, the group may be at risk of missing the recognition process and stunting the success of the group. New officers who have a positive transition and gain the knowledge they need to succeed are more likely to be confident and productive in their new role. It is natural to have confusion when officer positions experience turnover, but with a good transition, this confusion can be mitigated or avoided. Similarly to avoiding confusion, officer transitions are one of the only times when outgoing officers can share their experience and insight with new officers and members. Officers most likely have gained some experience or insight from their position that may not have been written down or might not make sense to be in a transition binder. For outgoing officers, transitions can be a sense of accomplishment and closure for all of the hard work and dedication they have put into their position. This helps end their time as an officer on a positive note and promote connection to the organization even after they have served as an officer or graduated. Lastly, officer transitions maintains the momentum and accomplishments of the organization. Successful transitions promote the continuation of goals and accomplishments by passing on the work and message to the next group of officers who will hopefully continue on the path their predecessors started. Now that we have established why officer transitions are important, let's dive into discussing tips and practices for a successful transition. First, the schedule of how officer transitions occurs will ensure that you have a plan of action. This is a sample recommended timeline for how your transitions can be enacted. The dates will vary based on your organization and their needs. Even if you cannot fit this entire schedule into your organization's transition plan, implementing some aspects will be very beneficial. One of the most successful parts of this plan is hosting an officer transition retreat with all outgoing and incoming officers. This event can be done during your regularly scheduled business or executive board meetings. It is a great way to hold all officer roles accountable for providing some sort of transition. In addition, you do not have to be the president or advisor to implement this plan. Take initiative to collaborate with other officers to make this happen. When thinking about your elections process and officer transition timeline, some questions to consider include: how does your organization conduct their elections? What works well with this process? What could be improved with this process? How does your elections process impact the officer transition timeline? If your organization's current election process does not fit your organization's needs, there is always an opportunity to discuss with the group about updating the process and your bylaws. The sample general standards are up on the screen here. However, we encourage you to meet with a student life advisor in Student Life and Leadership if you have more questions about making this change for your organization. Next, the transition materials you provide to the next officer should be gathered together prior to officer transition meetings. Ideally, these materials are being collected throughout an officer's term. On the screen, you will find a compiled list of possible materials an officer may need to collect and provide the incoming officer. We encourage you to collect these in a centralized location, whether that be a binder, Google Drive, Dropbox, a thumb drive, or another form of your choice. Bonus points for creating a general email, such as sll@sdsu.edu for each officer position, because this makes it very easy to transition materials. They can all be collected on the same email in the same Google Drive and easily passed on to the next officer. Looking at this list, some questions for you and your fellow officers to consider would be, what are some documents that you think you will need to collect for your specific position? What documents or information specific to your organization will you need? What can you start doing now to prepare these materials? In addition to collecting transition materials specific to each officer position, we would like to take this opportunity to remind you that including transition information about the student organization recognition process here at SDSU will set your group up for success each year. The general checklist for recognition can be found on the screen and on our website, sll.sdsu.edu. We recommend starting this process as early as possible. The earliest you can begin is May 1st of each academic year. Organizations who complete the recognition process successfully will have the following benefits: the use of SDSU's name and logo, access to scheduling, advertising, and publicizing activities and events, meeting on campus, reserving associated students and university facilities and equipment, applying for and receiving desk space or a mailbox, applying for and receiving associated students funding, applying for and receiving associated students college council funding, participating in student life and leadership events and activities, engaging in fundraising activities, certifying campus recognition for national or statewide affiliated organizations, and receiving tax-exempt charitable donations through provisions administered by the SDSU Campanile Foundation. As you can see, this list includes a lot of benefits for becoming a recognized student organization, which is why we want to take this time to remind you of how important that recognition process is. Lastly, officer transitions are most successful when they are paired with goal setting for the organization, the officer team, and each individual officer. We encourage you to make your goals SMART. That stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. If you are unsure what we mean with this acronym, check out our workshop on organizational goal setting. When you are working with a group to create shared goals, whether that be with your entire organization or just your officer team, it is important to ensure that you create guidelines upfront for the purpose of the conversation and expectations for everyone involved. One example of an expectation may be that if someone in the group has an idea to share, they should raise their hand prior to speaking. This may help ensure everyone in the group is heard. If you are the individual leading this meeting, it is important that you give everyone the chance to speak while also validating their ideas and showing appreciation for their participation. This will promote camaraderie among the group, as well as buy-in from members to participate in achieving these goals. Oftentimes, these group conversations can lead to a variety of tangents and more topics to explore. We recommend that whoever is leading the meeting strives to keep the group on task to set group goals, and to keep the conversation moving in a positive, constructive conversation. Group goal setting can provide your organization with many benefits, including gaining buy-in from fellow organization members to accomplish goals, creating expectations to which you can hold members accountable to, building trust and respect between officers, general members, and advisors, and fostering inclusion and community. In addition to group goal setting, we encourage each outgoing officer and new officer to review the questions on the screen and to share their responses with one another. The outgoing officer's reflection of their goals and accomplishments will hopefully contribute to the goals of the new officer to promote the continuation of progress or projects your organization is pursuing. These questions are also a great way to provide outgoing officers a space to give their ideas, feedback, and experience to new officers. Lastly, it is beneficial to provide outgoing officers a space to reflect on their time in their officer role. Oftentimes, students in leadership positions do not take time to reflect on what they learned in the position or how this role impacted their own development. Taking time to reflect will help officers make meaning of their experience, which can then assist them with articulating their leadership role and skills gained to a resume or interview. Some officers may even find that they have a passion for serving in a leadership role, which could impact their future goals. A few questions you may want to ask outgoing officers to promote this reflection are: what did you learn about yourself from this position? What did you enjoy most in this officer role? What skills did you learn from this position? What are your own personal goals in the organization for the coming year? Thank you for taking the time to view this workshop. We hope it was beneficial and helpful to your organization. If you have any further questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us at sll@sdsu.edu or by phone at 619-594-5221.